All right, welcome to another episode of Navigating the Rise. Today I have the really awesome Choi from the great company. He does a lot of interesting things with different companies, with making films, videos, and other different avenues. I will let Choi introduce himself briefly so I don't butcher his background.
Oh man, my journey has, I think touched on a lot of different things. Where I am today is I'm the founder and CEO of the great company. We're an experiential studio, and we could dive a little deeper into what that means later. But it really allows me to, touch on a lot of different aspects of digital media as well as physical media. Yeah.
Cool, that's awesome. So kind of make sure people understand when you say experiential studio. I understand what that is. I was do that before. I'm curious about maybe people don't know what that is because it's pretty new in my opinion. People usually create a segment and content, but
Sure.
here is more like the experience, right? So if you can elaborate a little bit more about that, that'd be great.
Sure, yeah, we sit somewhere between theme entertainment and experiential marketing. So what has happened over the years is, I think just generationally, there's always this shift of like, you want to do the opposite of what your parents love to do. So as, there was a time when everyone was diving into their cell phones and consuming media in a new way. Now, as that generation is growing up, there's a new generation that's like, hey, I want to put my cell phone in my pocket. I want to leave it at home. I want to go analog. And so what's happening today is, real estate, typically like shopping malls and whatnot that used to sell tons of products are no longer successful in selling products. And you're seeing that, selling experiences are more important. And so the rise of, Disneyland, Disney World, one point almost bankrupt in the 90s are now, Disney's fastest growing product. And at the same time, on the marketing front, you look at, things like digital buys. That was one of the biggest things. Everyone was doing digital marketing. All of a sudden, every agency is an experiential agency because there's a need for it. There's a need for consumer-facing physical experiences. There's a need for identifying your brand with a particular story. And we're somewhere between those two worlds.
Cool, sounds good. I'm gonna stop. Yeah, so I completely agree because if you look at that, even the generations, millennial, Gen Z, when they go traveling, they focus more on the experiences, like the cultural experiences, as opposed to like the accommodation, the touristy stuff.
Sure.
So you can see a lot of hotel, like Airbnb for specifically, they basically undercut the hotel accommodation by a lot. And they focus more on the culture aspect, experiences that's happening. And like one project I was doing before with the hotel hospitality segment, like literally hotel, 60% of the revenues come from business, 40% from leisure. And the leisure part is actually going down a lot.
Really interesting.
Because for example, there's a trend that's been studied that for each about 1% increase of Airbnb homes, it's like 0.01 or 0.02% decrease in revenue and booking rates as well. And Airbnb grew from like in a matter of a couple of years from 50, I think in 1 year alone, for example, in 2016, Airbnb displays about $400 million of revenue from hotels.
Okay, interesting.
So people are actually now drawn more towards that. I suppose before people all want a nice room, I want all that. I mean, there's people still there with traveling family, etc.
Sure.
But now experience have become such a great consumer behavior of later generations that, like you said, companies that need to pivot to different kind of products and experiences to actually make it actually worthwhile.
And people want less of the predictable, right? That's kind of what it sounds like as well. Yesterday we were talking about with one of our colleagues, Nate Cromit. We were talking about what we did for Thanksgiving, and he was able to go to this kind of pop-up where you don't know what bands are performing, but it was packed out. It was a random location. And apparently they do like 150 of these things, like, throughout the month. And, it allows bands that are great to perform and surprise you, but that also allows you to see a lot of bands that aren't so good. But at the same time, don't think people care that much that it was like a variety of good or bad. I think they care more about the surprise element, that it's not so predictable. So I do feel like, I personally like predictability when it comes to where I stay, but I do see, Airbnb being like kind of a go-to now for the new generation.
Yeah, I think what happens, there's a human psychology as well, where basically people don't want predictability, but at the same time, they want predictability.
They do. Yeah, it's a balance. It's a balance. That's what I've learned.
So when people say they don't want predictability, they mean like they only want the good stuff that comes out of the unpredictability.
Sure. Yeah.
So for example, when you're driving, you go in a car crash, unpredictable, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh my god. But when you're driving, it's like you saw a sale or something, oh you stop. And they want that kind of unpredictability. So it's very interesting. So when people go in there, they want unpredictability because they assume that good thing will happen if I go there. As opposed to people traveling, there's more good unpredictability than bad unpredictability.
I've had bad unpredictability of Airbnb like 2 out of 3 times. So I for me personally, I think that's the reason why I don't gravitate towards Airbnb. But yeah, I think I agree.
To be honest, I agree with you too. In the beginning, when my friend wanted to do Airbnb, like 3-4 years ago, I was like, fine, let's try it out. Yeah. Horrible experience. Horrible. And I was like, never ever again. And then went to the Philippines, and then my friend said, look, you should just get an Airbnb. It's super cheap. Sure. And you can stay at like one of the nicest places versus hotel, right? Hotels is the same price, kind of 3-star hotel. You can stay at a 5-star like Airbnb accommodation. So I did that, and I was like, oh, so there's actually good experiences there as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never been to Asia Airbnb, but I've done Prague and Spain, and both were the best experience. They were great. They were really good hosts. They were. Prague was kind of interesting. They made us wait outside for a while in the cold. Yeah, it was very different. It was almost like a whole different class of service, whole different class of amenities, towels. It felt like a hotel, but it felt a little bit more intimate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so like, let's go. I know we're talking a lot about Airbnb.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's part of it. It's part of the whole like experiential culture, right? That's evolving, and it talked a lot about what people are yearning for, what people are being drawn to. I do feel like our senses are a little bit numb to the 2D screen, and I think there's a craving to want to amplify our other senses as well. So in essence, and a really long roundabout way to answer that question, our mission as the great company, as an experiential studio, is to be the world's leading producers in producing meaningful shared experiences. So I think for us, we value digital, we value everything that comes with technology. We ask ourselves a question of how could we do it more seamlessly, how do we do it better, how do we integrate in a way where it actually brings people together. And at the end of the day, life is short. We all have one asset we all share it in common, which is our time. Yes. We may have different numbers in our bank accounts. We may have different skill sets. You could program, you do UI design. I can't do that at all. I have some visions of what that can look like. But one thing we both share in common is we just don't know how much time we have. And so what we realize is at the end of the day, what's most important to us as a company is these type of shared experiences where our time together. I appreciate you coming up here, and there's an hour or two of your time to make your way here. I have to make sure that I'm contributing in appreciation for that. So that's why the meaningful shared experience is important for us.
That's awesome. Yeah, and also thinking of there's something that happened where I remember reading an article or a quote where it says that people are so worried about the number, the bank account, what the perception, etc. One of the things it says, look, think of it as a play. You're putting on a play, right? Everyone has a role in that play, whether that's a businessman, a lawyer, a comedian, etc. They all have that play, right? They role to play. But the moment they all go backstage, they take everything off. They're all the same. So think of the world as a stage where you basically have a role to play in this world, right? By the time, say, you die or pass away or do something else, you're basically the same as everybody else. So instead of worrying about...
Back to dust.
Yeah. So the concept was that instead of worrying about comparing yourself to someone else, why am I not like that person? Maybe it's not your role on this stage of life to actually play that role, right? So you have a different role to play. That's very important. Without you, the stage wouldn't work.
That's great wisdom. Every stage, every season, there's a different stage. Yeah. And I believe every season informs a season ahead. Yeah. I would not be who I am today or understand the world as I understand today if everything behind me did not happen the way it did. Yeah, so in that case, come on down into your past then. How did you became where you are today? What happened in your past? Sure. I know that I heard a little bit about a product called Ken Fung that you grew up in Hong Kong, and then before you came here, you had this identity crisis. Curious about how your past
what happened in your past and how that shaped you in your current life.
Yeah, and it's constant learning. So I think if anything, there's been a theme in the last like 18 months or so. It's great. This is actually good timing. I had a company retreat with the team yesterday. Talked a lot about learnings, and I think when we talk about learnings, often we go to a very tactical, a space of processing. We say, oh yeah, X, Y, Z, we learn, right?
Yeah.
But how about learning to learn? Having that attitude to kind of remember to always learn. So that was a really great takeaway as a team that I felt this year was important to us. But to go all the way back from Hong Kong, I was born there. Came here when I was 8 years old, and one thing I always share is I didn't know I was Asian until I got here. Everyone else, are you Chinese?
I'm Chinese.
Cantonese or Mandarin?
Mandarin.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, 讲国语, I'm Cantonese, 讲广东话, right? So, everyone spoke Cantonese, everyone, looked like me, but when I came to the States, I was like, whoa, like, what is this? No one prepared me for this.
Yeah.
And, my parents, man, like, God bless them, they just so much full of love, but their expression of love is just so Eastern, right? Like, so traditional Eastern. It's like, I literally, like, communication is not a key part of Eastern culture. It's all about action, right? It's like what you do, right?
Here's some
and
food.
so you kind of gotta learn to appreciate that they're feeding you, they're taking you places. So imagine, like, I literally woke up in bed one day, had my bags all packed straight to the airport, and landed here, and was like, what the heck happened? Like, I had no communication whatsoever, right? There was no preparation. We're leaving country. We're just going. And maybe,
it's good for you.
Yeah, it's good for you, exactly. So, yeah, then we showed up here, and, growing up was interesting. I think it was a little tougher. I think if anything else, it was the communication barrier, not just like language-wise, but culturally. I think let's talk language first. I think one of the big moments that's always kind of traumatized me and got me to be a bit of an introvert during my like adolescence was, raising my hand on the first day. And Hong Kong, we were under British rule at the time when I was growing up, and we were taught like English.
Yeah.
And so I remember raising my hand and said, and I'm drawing, and hey, I need a rubber, and everyone started laughing.
Oh yeah.
And because at the time that's how they refer to condoms, right, in the media. And I didn't know that, and so the teacher runs over to me and shh me, and I was like, what? And like, we say eraser here. And I was like, oh, okay, eraser. And then, the next thing I asked for was, I want to go to the toilet. And then everyone started laughing. Like, toilet, he said toilet. I was like, what? And then the teacher comes back and goes, oh, yeah, we say restrooms here. And so it's like, I don't think there was any malintent in the correction. Yeah. But it was just a little embarrassing because I'm kind of like, oh, I didn't know. That was what I was taught,
Especially as a kid, too, yeah.
Yeah, as a kid. And so I think they say you kind of remember those little moments more, as a kid, and then impacts you more as an adult. And so I think what that led me to was always kind of think twice before I speak, which I think, early on, in the time when, charisma and all these things were more important, it came out as kind of a negative attribute. But I think in hindsight, it actually helped contribute to, how I am as a person today, where I think, I try to be more empathetic. I try to be, understand before I speak, and those things has been great. But there was another whole season where I wasn't that either, because I think in that identity crisis going into high school, where I started meeting all these Asian friends, I felt like I had to be the opposite of who I was by overcompensating to be this image of this macho, guy that's outspoken, charismatic, even though it was not very comfortable. But to be honest, that skin probably led me well into my 20s when going to through high school, going to college, I joined the Chinese American Student Association, which then even gave me more of a boost to this identity that I was really attaching to, and I started throwing parties because that's kind of what I knew. It was just a natural way to bring people together, and in a way almost maybe boost my own position in life. And it happened really quickly, but it grew really quickly into a business, and I got into nightlife promotions, and that was pretty much most of my 20s. And then
that was a fun time.
Yeah, that was a fun time. It was really fun. I would never regret. I met so many friends, saw so many people get married through the years, meeting at the clubs. You find love anywhere. Don't judge. but then also, furthermore, unintentionally found a skill set, to be able to amplify. Because I think at one point we had so much momentum as a nightlife company, it was easy for me to invite anyone into our world, because now it's a world that's been created. And through this world, we are able to create buzz for different things. So early on, it was, alcohol companies calling us, going, "Hey, Carl, like, I'll give you $500 to, throw up a Budweiser logo and feature our beer." Sure, I'll take it. It's extra money.
Yes.
Then later on to Verizon going, "Hey, could you talk about our new phone launches or our new program?" Sure, let's do that too. Then at one point, I think, what really called to me was this world of talent that was kind of rising in the Asian American space. And I think the first one was Jin, who's a Chinese rapper, and in the late 90s, early 2000s, hip hop was pop music. It's basically pop music now.
Yeah.
But it was kind of the ruling genre, and it was really cool to see someone who's of Asian American descent win 7 weeks in a row in BT 106 in Park. And then it was very inspiring, and it made me just have this hunger to want to promote more Asian talent.
That's pretty awesome.
With our platform, yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of stories kind of resonate with me when I was younger too. So, for example, I actually went to school in Asia for a little while, a year or two.
Cool. Where?
Shanghai.
Oh yeah, cool.
And then
nice.
so the way they teach is very different. At that time, they had school on Saturdays too.
Sure.
Right, and then if you don't do what the teacher tells you, they hit you. Like literally hit you. I got hit in the head so many times.
Oh man.
So I was like you can't cry. If you cry, they hit you more. Yeah. So it's like you got to kind of.
I was lucky. My dad was a principal at the school, so I was a bit of a prince at the same time.
Nice.
I remember they would discipline me. They had so much hesitancy. It was just so obvious. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But this goes to the Asian way, right? The cultural, it's who you know kind of thing, right?
And you know how it's different in the US is more about individualism.
Sure.
And Asia is more about the community. You just want to fit in with the community.
Sure.
And so from then on, it's similar to you have to think about I shouldn't say certain things, otherwise I'll get punished. So there's one time where they're so strict. A lot of kids, right? They try to skip class by going to the restroom very often. So I would say, I would raise my hand and say, I need to go to the restroom. Say, no, wait until after class. So I really need to go. Wait, after class. And it's I really need to go. And I keep asking.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of embarrassing too. So I went, but then because I wasn't told to go for so long.
Yeah.
That on the way there, it just came out.
Dude, I still remember my first grade, first day. I don't know what I ate that morning. But yeah, the same thing happened to me. I wanted to go to the bathroom, and the teacher just wait, and I ended up pooping my pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so embarrassing. I was like, oh god.
Yeah, and literally by the time I got there, I was like, oh shoot, and it just came out, and then I was like, oh, and then I went to this classroom. I was like, I think I need to go home. I was like, why? Because I pooped in my pants.
Oh my god.
And the whole class was laughing at me, right? And then she's like, okay, I'll take you home. And then so it was and then she learns, okay, maybe kids do need to go to the restroom. And I was like, if you really need to go, let me know and we'll let you go, right? As using me as an example. But the funny thing is how life works is I was staying with a family. I was with my family's here in the US.
Oh, okay.
So I was staying with a different family.
Yeah.
Because at the time it's kind of weird. When I first went to Asia, my Chinese wasn't that great.
Sure.
My English was better.
Yeah.
And after I stayed there for a year or two, my Chinese became better than my English. So I came back and kind of reworked that system.
Yeah.
But kind of digress a little bit. But what really happens was when I was there, the people I was staying with, the teacher took me home. She was a student of the teacher that I was staying with at the time.
Okay.
So basically, I stayed with a homeschool teacher.
Of course, yeah.
She teaches at different colleges, trying to prep me because I'm behind compared to other students in terms of language level and everything else. And then when she dropped me off later on, she realized that wait a minute, you're staying with my teacher. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic that happened afterwards.
That's funny.
Yeah. So,
yeah. No, definitely. Little tidbit memories like that. Just moments in life you remember as a kid.
Yeah. So that's kind of thing when I said the similarity about. And then when you mentioned about the overcompensation, that happens a lot. So I went through a different aspect. So when I was growing up, I actually wanted to be more white than Asian. So I was actively shutting off my Asianness as much as possible. So what happened was I'm not sure if you know this or not. Maybe you're not being born in Hong Kong, but for me as Asian American was that
we're born here or
here.
Okay.
Yeah. So here, what happened was that I noticed that a lot of the Caucasians, right, they don't really accept you as fully American growing up. They think you're kind of different. At the same time, like Asians don't think of you as Asians because you're not Asian, right?
Oh yeah, no, I used to. I think when we first, then from nightclub we went to this, exploration of talent management and music, and I remember one of our ideas was to call our record label Homeless Records.
Oh.
And it represented our lost identity as Asians. when we're Asians, when we're here, we're not quite American. When we go Asian, they call us a white boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like literally, like when we go to Hong Kong, they're like, oh, you're not Asian, you're a white boy. and we'd be like, oh man, we're homeless. We don't really have a home. We don't have an identity. And so there's that. But just to piggyback too. Yes, I felt like growing up, I did have a perspective that I was misunderstood, but I hear what you say a lot, like as far as like there's a certain perception from Caucasians to Asians. I actually never saw it as like a negative thing. I also always just thought that they didn't understand based on the lack of education.
Yeah. And
I think that perspective has consistently been part of my life, because what I learned is if I openly welcome a Caucasian into our Asian clubs, they had just as good time as anyone else. Like it's long as I think it's like human beings, right? It's like if we're welcoming people and you educate people about what you're about, you educate how you have fun.
Yeah.
I think there's something about that type of hospitality that speaks universally. But I think the Asian culture, the discrepancy is often we make a lot of assumptions, which I've also learned in business. Assumptions is the mother of all f-ups.
Yeah.
I think, and we're taught to be like that in Asia, because in Asia, and I think the far extreme of it is probably the Japanese culture, but this permeates through all Asian culture. Is we tend to think we're mind readers, but we're not. It's not truly like it's the whole mentality, like we think we're mind readers, but we're not.
I think it's the Korean language. Because I speak Chinese, Japanese, Korean too. And then
why do you speak so many languages?
It's something I just want to do.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's never been good for me. Jin's actually really good picking up languages.
So when I was 19, I said I want to master all the East Asian languages. That's kind of how I started at 19.
Yeah.
So started Chinese at the time. I had some base already. Then went to Japanese. Then went to Korean. I tried to do all three at once at the same time. Oh my god, it's like confusing.
Oh my god! If I learned Korean, my wife would be so proud of me.
Oh really?
One day.
So there's Korean classes here, and it's pretty cheap.
I'm just not very good at language. The other thing I've discovered through life, and this explained a lot. I had a quarter life crisis some time back, and I decided to take a trip to Alaska, and I lived out there for about a month. And one of the kind of connecting points was going through a ferry, and when I was on that ferry, I decided to pick up a puzzle box and start playing with puzzles. And then these two ladies came and sat in front of me on the table and watched me put the puzzle together. And then we just started having a conversation. I was asking them what they're up to, and they said they were teachers. And I was like, oh, okay, teachers for what? They go, oh, we're teachers for dyslexic. And then I was like, oh, interesting, tell me more. And it basically led to them asking me, have you ever been tested before? And I said, no. And they ran a test, and I'm dyslexic. And I never knew that. And it really helped explain why it's always been so hard for me to write language in a right way. Because even right now, the greatest tool in life for me is Grammarly on email, because I unconsciously put things out of order just based on just how my mind works. And I used to attribute a lot of that to my ADD, which I also have to manage. But realizing I was dyslexic, it really then helped me the tools I needed to make sure I could communicate in a proper way.
That's very interesting. I was going to actually talk about how the culture is different, because the language in Asian culture is more context driven versus here is more direct.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
But then here, that's very interesting what you just said, because I recently took a survey. There is a survey for all entrepreneurs, high hustlers, what they go through, how they have a tendency that says people who are more dyslexic or who have more ADD tend to be more entrepreneurial than others, right? So they want to do a test to see whether that's verified. So I took the survey and everything, and based on the survey, so I'm asking him back now, hey, do I really have it? Because I've been diagnosed with ADD before, and then on the survey it says that I also might have dyslexia. I was like, what? It's like, what is that? And then I actually and Grammarly. When I came out, I used it. I was like,
oh my god, love it.
Oh my god, it's the error. I can just write people, and it's like, oh my god, it's perfect. I love it. So I think that makes me want to try to see it. Maybe I have that tendency too.
You go get tested. It's pretty interesting. It gives you then understand yourself and why you do certain things, and it helps you kind of think twice about certain things, especially writing for me. And thank God I've had great coaches. As a good friend and a colleague, Bosia, who's a Tony Award writer. I don't know, I feel like a blessing from above to have someone like him who I've just really learned from. And I remember one of the first things he said to me is like, Carl, you always have to remember first that you are fluent in English. Yes. Once you know that, then everything that comes out will help deliver the message that you need to deliver. And I think that helped me really break through this, confidence barrier that I had that was restricting me on how I communicate. And it's been just, I look at myself like 4 years ago till now, like I definitely felt a lot more comfortable in my own skin as far as,
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, because I sometimes still makes minor mistakes.
Oh yeah.
And then like really someone said, hey, you need to double check your email. I was like, what do you mean? There's some like errors in it. You shouldn't send that out until you double check that you like reread it over again. I did like multiple times, right? So these things happen, and that kind of creates like this. I was like, oh man, like why do you care so much? Can we just not do it? But that happens. So,
okay. No, it's funny you say that language too, like the direct versus kind of, what's that? Contextual. Yeah. Right. Which is really funny because was that on the Ken Fong podcast? I heard somewhere talk about. I think it was Ken Fong actually. Okay. He talked about even in our medical practices, where Western and Eastern tends to heal the heart through drinking ginseng or like
boost immunity.
Boost immunity by like kind of like keeping and managing is a little bit indirect in the way they heal. It's like let's like do the foot massage to heal the blood pressure, It's very indirect, but Western medicine, it's like boom, surgery, cut straight through. And it's really interesting. Like when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's like such a great context as to like how to put it, because now it makes a lot of sense why when the white kids would speak to me, and not just white kids, just American kids that I grew up here spoke to me, it felt a little abrasive because I was, oh, did you just say that? But in hindsight, I've actually now have learned to appreciate it, because in working with a lot of Asians in the Asian American space, due to I think that kind of mixed identity aspect, there came a lot of surprises in business where things that maybe one party on the other side assumed that I knew or thought I knew or thought I understood, I didn't. And so there were decisions made that was very disappointing to me. And I think in times like that, it kind of for a long time, to be honest, actually made me shy away from doing business with Asians. And I think it kind of, it was hurtful, and it was hard for me to want to pursue this mission of wanting to uplifting Asian Americans in the talent space, which I dedicated 20 years of my life to. But most recently, I thought was really cool was just through the mutual understanding of culture and respect of culture and empathy for culture. Even people of all nationalities and races want to help uplift talent in the Asian space as well. And so now I've been able to work with different folks that share a vision but communicate directly like the way that I think I'm more comfortable with, to be honest. Because Hong Kong is actually pretty direct as well. And Hong Kong is always a little rough, but it's also very direct. But I think there has to be something to do with like the British rule, and kind of that was the teaching. And so I didn't realize this, but I actually in my communication is probably more direct than contextual. Yeah,
similar for me. As when I work in Asia and the US, I have to almost do like a context switch. And then so from that perspective, because if you're too aggressive in Asia, they just cut you off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
They just don't do business with it.
It's true. Yeah.
So I'm curious now, like for now with the great company, now obviously you changed from nightclub to record label now to the great company. I'm curious about how did you leverage your past experiences, whether through cultural identities of both culture and past work experiences that you're applying now to the great company.
Sure. Events, promoting events was like a big thing in my life for the 20s, and it honestly came very naturally. I just wanted to see people have a good time. It was that simple. On the talent side, it's honestly sometimes when it comes to talent management, it's really just believing in those who you see potential in, where you're like, man, this person really has a knack for learning, wanting to like increase and grow in his talent, to they have perseverance, like they're committed, like they're really serious about doing this. And the last one, I think, faith is very important. Is like, do they really, have that faith, want to take that risk? But then it's interesting, like a fourth one is also now that I think is more, it came to light in the last like 4 or 5 years, and just mainly working with a lot of different talents, ability to collaborate. I think that's becoming more and more important, because I think there was a season in time where like the superstar existed. Yeah. But I feel like nowadays the superstars are less superstars. People look up the super teams, and I think without your team, you can't be that star. You could be that head of a team, but you can't. It's not about that like idol culture anymore. So I think that's evolved a lot. But yeah, how that informs what I do today is it's been great working with talent. The industry that I'm in came from several places. So like one place was, the history of Disney Imagineering. I don't know if you ever kind of hear like it was kind of Disney's personal kind of crew that created these worlds, and it's all about them making the theme park rides and whatnot. I've been very lucky. I've been, I met a gentleman by the name of Joe Garlington, who's a professor at USC. He was a former executive over at Disney Imagineering, and it's just been great, like learning the history and the story and context behind, the way of thinking. And so one of the stories he told me was back then when the theme park world was not, thriving like it is now, they had to lay off a ton, like 5,000 Disney Imagineers. 5,500, I don't remember. It's a number. Wow. It's a pretty big number. Yeah, I remember. And so then what happened was then those folks had to learn to figure out, what to do with their lives. And so all of a sudden they create all these competitors, because now then Universal, hired these guys to create theme parks. Then these other companies did. So what happened was it kind of created, unintentionally created like this industry for all these other IP that needed help, materializing what they do into a theme entertainment. And so that's one piece. And then two is this world of theater, where theater, I think for many years now has been on the decline, unless you're like Broadway in New York, and you saw theater started reinventing itself. And I think it started with this idea of like I think it was a 4-wall theater where like you're in theater, but they kind of cross over into your seats and whatever. So like you're still a spectator, but now it's expanding outside the stage. And over the years, there was then a third merger of these haunted houses, where like people love running through these haunted houses, and you saw talent from these three spaces start cross-pollinating. And what you found was these things called like immersive theater or like interactive experiences. And the most, I think, the most well known is the New York-based Sleep No More. That has pretty extensive run now, like 8 or 9 years. And then that's probably more of the artistic side, where it's kind of created a space and carved out a world of its own. It's immersive theater, but it's long lasting, like a Broadway show. Then there's like the quick buck marketing world of like ice cream museums. That's like gotten people to come out and like really indulge in these like cultural moments and super selfies and all that. And there's a theme park. So like it's ever evolving. But what's been really interesting is it includes promotion. You need to be able to draw people to this space. It includes experiential design, which for me, honestly, a lot of times when I think experiential design, it was about working with the talent a little bit beyond just the management side, but helping them, figure out their look, helping figure out their brand, and building that brand around them. And then 3 is that, talent management. A lot of the folks I work with now are writers, directors, creators, and they are passionate about what they do, but they also just need partners to help let them think about, help them guide them into this world of sustainability, because there's always that transition where, like, when there's something new and fresh, it starts as a hobby, driven by passion, but then once you do it long enough, you start questioning how you're spending your time, which then brings you into the question of sustainability. And so for me, I'm probably that person that try to help find these like hobbies that folks are passionate in, and I'm also passionate in, and help usher them into a space, together, in partnership to create sustainable models. So not saying we figured it out, it takes a lot of time, but what we've learned is, I think the theme entertainment space is well established by the big dogs, and you need a lot of outside funding. But I think a great space to experiment has been working with brands that wants to tell their story in an experiential way. And so in helping them understand from a promoter perspective how they want to attract more folks, and then how to create those moments that could be captured by their consumers and then reshared online. Those are kind of like, some of the talent management / promotional, learnings that I've been able to contribute to this world. But I think one of the more key elements is, in 2014, 15, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, kind of evolving out of the talent management space, I was, a friend of mine, one of my former clients, he would always say, Carl, I think you're more of a producer than a manager. I think you should find someone, to study under. And I got really lucky. I got to study under a producer in Hollywood that, was very transparent, opened up his books to me, and really, taught me the ropes and how to run a business in this type of position, producing, bring the creative and the business elements together. And so I would say those 3 elements was what I'm applying to this very new industry today.
Yeah, I think that's very. I think we have maybe somewhat similar story too, because I was the engineer before, and then after that, I knew that wasn't my
engineer, like
software engineer.
Software engineer, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
I knew that wasn't it. Because people were doing that on weekends for fun. And I didn't want to touch it at all on the weekends, right? And I was like, okay, let me see what I do. So I tried different functions like marketing, strategy, all different things. And then so in the tech world, which is now I guess a producer in the entertainment, it's called product management.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then after I went to that realm, I was like, I'm really interested, and especially the UX design part of it, of segment. So ended up one of my last role, I was actually leading both product managers and UX designers, and I was like, oh, so that's the area I want to focus in, as opposed to like the more technical aspects of it, even though I have that background. So I completely understand like where you're coming from. Sure. And I also have a question now, because I know with these kind of symptoms, for example, ADD and dyslexia, the perception, current media perception, my perception at least, of the media perception is that it's not the most positive, because they show people who have those 2 are challenged, who has like trouble learning and that kind of things. I'm wondering have you utilized these kind of traits that's positive to your business? I know for Richard Benson, he said he attributed much of his success to ADD. So I'm just curious about your personal experience as well.
I think for me, it's interesting. For me, it's perspective. I feel like a lot of folks that, often I've been very lucky. I've been able to really connect with, very prominent individuals in different ways. And sometimes I ask my wife, I don't know why they keep me around. And often I think it's just because I see things differently. And I think when you see things differently, there breeds possibilities, and those possibilities breeds opportunities. And so often, there's very successful individuals that I don't know, I really don't know why they keep me in their lives or answer my emails, but they do. And often I think, maybe it's just I see things so differently that it makes people curious, like how the heck is this guy surviving, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's and I think I've had a friend actually said that. I was like, I don't know how you do it, you know, and sometimes I don't either.
Yeah.
But you know, I think you know, I'm not afraid to work hard. I'm not afraid to take risk, and you know, sometimes you get lucky.
I should agree with that. So for me, how it helped me was because for people with ADHD, tend to be more easily distracted, look at things randomly, right? So because of that, I keep jumping from one thing to another. I was able to connect a lot of different random pieces together into a cohesive story. So when I was producing products, and I was realized, hey, we should do it this way, and then I will have it in my head how it works. But if you explain the way that I see it, it's like all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So I have to utilize, okay, how can I tell the story in a structured way, and then leverage that from an engineering background, everything structure, right? How to tell in a structured way so that people can understand.
Right.
So actually, I noticed that has been playing out throughout my entire life. So even when I was a kid, I would do something. People would be like, why would you do this? It doesn't make sense. Like when math test, I would do something, I'll get the answer, but the teacher didn't understand my logic, how to get to the answer. But in my mind, it makes perfect sense. And she would just give me a C, I cheated. Right? I kind of had a huge fight with her. I realized throughout my entire life, I always have to change my perspective when it comes to delivering my speech, so people can understand what I'm trying to convey.
Right.
So I think that kind of plays out over time, and with that is kind of combination is that because I'm able to see things differently when it comes to creating products, right? Especially new products, I realize I'm much better at than creating product that's already in market and trying to make improvements on it. Because when you make improvements on it, you're basically trying to scale as opposed to creating things from like completely new perspective.
Sure.
So yeah, so definitely relate to that as well.
Yeah, no, and that's a you know, there's a trait in life where, you know, early on you live in your head and you know you're right because you understand it, but at the end of the day, you're not right until you could help others understand what you're trying to communicate. And I feel like that's, you know, it's a great trait to learn.
So looking to the last segment of the podcast, so there's usually end with a story or quote.
Sure.
So in this case, it says, "I'm thinking of tomorrow today." So it says, "We're often told, don't put off till tomorrow what you should do today. But in fact, taking care of today's business is not enough. We must also try to do what we can about tomorrow. Succumbing to panic as one lies near death is no good. By then, it is too late." Curious about.
I mean, it's simple for me. It's the one eye on the mountain, one eye on the road thing. And, you know, it comes down to life and balance. So I think definitely make sure you postmark the future, but also try your best to stay present because you're not there yet. And so, yeah, that's how I would sum that up.
When you say it's the first time I heard of one eye on the road, one eye on the mountain. What is that about?
Yeah, so you're walking towards the mountain, like that's where you want to go, right?
Yeah.
But also keep an eye on the road because you don't want to trip over anything. And so it's just on your journey. You know, make sure you find balance in where you are, because sometimes when you get too caught on the mountain, you're gonna trip over something. If you're only looking at the road, you don't know where you're going, right? And so, yeah, one eye on the mountain, one eye on the road.
That's a very good interpretation, because when I read it now, my interpretation is more about, hey, it means that there's no point worrying about tomorrow. Focus on now, and then making sure that you're not deviating from that direction. Like, for example, if you're trying to get to, like, say, Asia as an analogy, right? As opposed to looking at how to get there. You don't lose sight of the fact you're going to the Asia, as opposed while you're doing the searches, it becomes that, hey, this is cheaper. So instead of you take a long detour to get there, right? When we got confused by the price and other necessities to achieve that.
Right.
So I guess it's kind of the same thing.
Cool.
Awesome. So kind of want to summarize the key things that we talked about.
Sure.
So first thing is learning for learning is very important. And second is trying to merge your past experiences to your current experiences. So everything you learned in the past, like in this Carl's case, the event, the promotion, even the childhood of being embarrassed by different, like the saying of rubber and everything else, that really helps him to empathize and create the product now and the great company. And also that we'll make sure that to also keep an eye on the end goal, but not lose sight of the current situation as well. So wondering if there's anything else that you want to add.
No, you summed it up pretty well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
If you like this episode, please leave an honest feedback and tune in to the next episode.